What's up in War Eagle War Report family? It's your guy Ike Jones, and we are here. The weekend tailgate, we are going to, after having a little time to compose ourselves, go back and talk about this Auburn men's basketball situation that we have on our hands as well. We're just going to talk about the state of Auburn Athletics. Get locked in. We are right here with your latest and greatest edition of the weekend tailgate, brought to you by Golden's Cast Iron.
This is the weekend tailgate, brought to you by Golden's Cast Iron. C-Dub, Ike Jones, Be Will, Mike G. You are now listening to
The weekend tailgate, brought to you by Golden's Cast Iron. You got Ike Jones, you got Big Will up in here talking a little Auburn sports. Mike G still on the road. Caesar taking the day off. But we are here, man, to talk to y'all. Hopefully everybody is having a good weekend so far. If you could do us a favor, go ahead and share this video. Today's video, man, we are going to air out some more frustrations. I didn't get an opportunity to air my frustrations out. Yeah. I've had a little time to calm down since the game. So maybe I'll be a little more measured today. But please share your the content with somebody out there, if you don't mind, on all the social media platforms. If you guys didn't know, we are sponsored by the good folks over at Golden's Cast Iron. You can get yourself a little something, you know what I'm saying, a grill. If you want to get a little discount off, use code Get Your Weight Up off of the weights. So, you know, summer's coming up. You want to get your summer body right, then, you know, get you some free weights, kettlebells. That'll help you do that from the house. You don't have to go to the gym. You can get your workout in wherever. Or if you want to get prepared for, you know, tailgating season that's coming down the line, get yourself a grill, all that kind of stuff. Summer, you know, spring break is right here upon us. You get yourself a little small travel grill or something like that. You'll use code TWR when you're out there doing that sort of thing. Join us as part of the War Report family. Green Name Gang got so many things in store for you guys this summer. It's not over just because basketball season's done. We got a lot of things that we got prepped for you this summer. You can, if you want to, gift a membership if you're already a member of the War Report, and somebody will get you right for at least 1 month. Hashtag Get Your Weight Up in the live chat, and we'll be doing a mug giveaway here in about an hour as well. And then lock in with the network if you want to hear some podcast stuff. But let's get past all of that announcements and everything. Appreciate y'all for jumping in here. I know, again, it's somber right now in the Auburn family. A lot of frustrations going around all over Auburn Nation, as it were. But B. Will, how are you feeling on this lovely Saturday with, you know, I don't know what it's like down there in Auburn, but it's kind of cool right now in Birmingham.
It's warming up down here. This weather is wild.
Ridiculous.
But, I had a chance to rewatch most of the game. Well, not rewatch, watch it for the first time, go back and catch some clips and some illicit means of watching the game. It didn't feel like it was a game that should have gone that way. There weren't any clear signs like, oh, this is bad. Watching it in real time, two things stuck out to me the most. Number one, Aiden wasn't quite ready for the moment, and I saw we were going back and forth in the chat here when we did the post game with me and Dustin, and some people were like, man, you know, it's one the place to blame somewhere because it's fans. The game just ended. I get it, but it was Aiden's fault, and of course, it's no one player's fault. But the lack of contribution from him with the minutes that he did play, yeah, it's part of the reason why. And we talked about it in the post game again, but guard play. The guard play was so. I did think Trey Donaldson played pretty well, but Trey's been playing somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes a game. Like he hasn't been playing 30, 35 minutes a game. And the first time to try to ratchet up your minutes in a way that's meaningful is not after you've been traveling. It's not after you've been traveling. That's not the best time to get prepared to, all right, man, about to double your minutes. Get out there. Let's go. Like, that's just not a great recipe for your guards to be able to contribute consistently. So Aiden's struggles stuck out for sure. I really liked our energy. Chaney not getting more minutes surprised me. Chaney not
he was in foul trouble quite a bit.
He was in foul trouble early. So later on, they stuck with Jay Will, and Jay Will, He played okay. I don't. Again, I didn't think that he had enough opportunities offensively necessarily. But I mean, we're working through Janai. Janai was doing his thing, so I understand that. But I didn't see anything that was like, wow, this absolutely is killing us right here. Like I said, Aiton's contributions lacking. But other than that, I think what we probably messed up the most was missing Chad Baker-Mazara's defense. That was the thing that stuck out the most. You put him out there on that when that guy was going crazy. I don't think there's any way he shoots at that clip that consistently if Chad Baker-Mazara is out there defending one-on-one, because we were like sending two at that guy at times. And I was like, I don't think we have to do that if Chad's out there. And I think that may have been the biggest determining factor. Now, I do think that I think it's fair to say we choked down the stretch with when we turned the ball over, missing free throws. We missed 3 1-and-1s in the last few minutes of the game, so several minutes of the game. Like, that's 3 points, man. We could have got 6 points, but we got 0 points. Yes, we choked. We choked that. We choked that away. And it's tough to watch us do that. But overall, I still think the biggest miss was Chad Baker-Mazara. A few more stops, a few more good offensive possessions, because he can give you that on offense, and I think it's probably a lot more comfortable. That 10-point lead probably gets pushed out instead of getting shrunk in the waning minutes of the game.
Yeah, no, I think I would categorize it as a choke because of the opportunities that Auburn had at the end of the game to at least get it to overtime and missing point. Like the Trey Donaldson miss on the layup where
after Broom had gotten the rebound.
Yeah.
Well,
it was they tried to throw the ball to KD and it got knocked away. Trey got the loose ball and then he went in there for the layup. He missed that layup and then he missed both free throws at the end of the game. Janai missing the front end of that 1-and-1. KD missing his free throw after he got the 3-point play opportunity. Like that's where I consider it a choke in that portion of the game. I think Denver missed a free throws late in that one. Like there were multiple guys who had opportunities in a game where you ultimately lost the game by 2 points to either get it to overtime or win the basketball game by just handling the free opportunities you had. You can't categorize anything but a choke. But yes, to your point, Chad Baker-Mazara missing from that game. I think more so, not just defensively because Auburn switches a lot. I think it's the fact that Yale doesn't switch a lot. And so that guy would have likely had to have played more defense against a guy who is more offensive oriented. They're going to run him off of a bunch of screens. So he'd have had to exert way more energy chasing Chad around or trying to guard him than he did having to guard Semo or having to guard Chaney, right? Just because they don't use them in the same way. So that was, I think, the biggest thing that ultimately led to Auburn's demise was the early dismissal of Chad Baker-Mazara, which it is what it is. Listen, Chad did what he did, and he's still a great basketball player. I don't like and I will never like this. I don't care how much, I've been noted as saying I think that, KD Johnson is out of control a lot during games, and I felt like he was out of control early in that game. He had a late turnover where he's coming down the court and just overruns his dribble somehow. And I was just like, bro, you dribble at that speed all the time. But in this scenario, somehow you overran it, right? And, so I felt like KD didn't have a particularly good game. Missed some open shots. He had plenty of opportunities. He came up big with the 3-point play late to get it back to where you're in striking distance, but then he misses the free throw, right? And so I think, again, there's plenty of blame to share. But where I was going is I don't really like fans who attack players and coaches after games, right? Like I get being frustrated and talking about the play, but then to categorize them in certain ways, I think is where I get like, all right, like let's pump the brakes on the bust stuff for 8 that happened routinely throughout the year, where we're gonna call the young man a bust, or the conversation about who Chad is as a person or / player. I didn't like that kind of stuff that started happening after a game. Like, okay, he retaliated, and yes, he even has a history of doing so, but like, let's I feel like we have to be able to, at some point in time, separate our frustrations from character attacks on people. And I think that's where it gets a little crazy for me. And then I think the thing that takes it all the way over the top of like, yo, settle down, is when we start trying to go at Coach Pearl for either his ability to handle this team and coach a team that just won an SEC tournament championship, as if that didn't happen, or continuously kind of overachieving with teams that people felt like, because the record was good, were good teams. And when you go back and deconstruct those teams, you're like, okay, they're actually they were doing better than what they should have been doing this season if we're really taking it apart. This team underachieved. I think pretty much every team prior to this year overachieved. The Jabari Kessler team, that was a disappointing exit. I think I was more disappointed in the SEC tournament exit than I was in the NCAA tournament exit, just because I felt like that was not really a great matchup for them with Miami. But this team underachieved in the SEC tournament. Going out in round one, underachievement, 100%. I am noted as saying I felt like the floor for this team was the Sweet 16. Yes. If they didn't achieve that, I was going to be disappointed in it. I am disappointed in that exit. Yes. I just feel like people kind of go overboard a little bit. And I see some people asking the question. I will answer that question firmly head on. I'm not going to dodge the question that you guys are asking about here in just a minute. But I think sometimes, like, again, emotions get into the fan stuff, and we do too much. It's too much sometimes in the rhetoric and language used in regard to how we react to certain things. And you call it being real, right? Like, I think that there is a category that is real, and there's a category that's overreaction, and we conflate those two things a little bit too often when we're having these conversations. And so, we're going to be in here, and I don't know that anybody's more frustrated than I am as an Auburn fan. Like, I literally devote my life to talking Auburn sports. Like, literally, that's not a, man, I support. We travel and spend our own money to go to these games and support the team, not just be there and say that we're in like, we literally are traveling to go interview players, interview coaches, be at games to give you guys perspectives that you're not getting as fans that we can get for you. So I literally devote my life to this. So this isn't like some passive, oh, I've been an Auburn fan forever thing. Like, no, I devoted my life to doing this. And yes, I get paid to do it, but I think I've earned my ability to get paid for it because I put in the work for it. So we spent a good amount of money, and thank you to people who helped support getting Mike out to Spokane to go support this team. That's a big hit that we had to take to make sure that happened. And we had a bunch of help to make it happen. So again, this isn't coming from some passive media standpoint. I'm a fan to the core. So it hurts to watch a team that I just in my mind was like, there's no way this team don't at least make Sweet 16. Bow out in the first round in a very, what I will classify as choke manner. Yeah. Hurts. At the same time, I think that there can be balance to a conversation that needs to happen about it. Anyway, I've said too much. B. Will, thoughts on all of my rantings and conversation there?
The conversation is, we understand that people care about Auburn sports and that you're disappointed when we lose, especially when we come up short. Like you said, people look at last season where Wendell was doing all the ball handling and we seem to not be able to make a big shot at the right time. We choke on free throws all the time. To go out in the round of 32, again, that team overachieved getting to the round of 32 because they weren't really equipped to do anything.
That was a team most people were questioning was even going to make the tournament.
Right. And they made it to the round of 32. We overachieved that. But because the results weren't a Sweet 16 or an Elite 8 or a Final Four, everybody looks at that as a down year on Bruce, and they question Bruce the whole season.
Let me clarify. Last year's team was a team people questioned would make the tournament. They made it to the round of 32, and were on the brink of beating Houston, collapsed down the stretch. The year before that, Jabari Kessler, people thought that was they could make a run team, and they ended up going out in the round of 32. But still, I want to make sure I delineate the two different teams. Go ahead.
Right. But even with that, we were deficient in certain areas with that Jabari and Kessler team that made it, hey, if you're going to come up against a team that can do this, you're in trouble. Yes, we know Jabari is a great player, lottery pick. Walker Kessler, great player. I don't know, was he a lottery pick or he was just mid-first round?
Yeah.
Regardless, you had a lot of great talent matchups. You're going to hear analysts say this all the time, and of course you know it, and everybody who watches basketball knows it. Basketball's about matchups. It's always been about matchups. You can have a team that is we're winning so many games, but if I've got the rock to your scissors, you're going to lose. It doesn't matter how many times you've won with those scissors. If I've got the rock, you're going to lose. And that is essentially what happens in the tournament. Is it's all about, hey, how good a game can you play? And we're playing a great team and we're peaking at the right time. Sure. But if I've got the rock to your scissors, there's a really good chance you're going to lose unless you just play outside of yourself. Like there are teams who really can't battle inside. They don't have the size to battle inside. Let me think about the major upsets in tournament history with UMBC and was it Virginia that year or whoever they beat as a 16 seed or 15 seed. However, if I can shoot out of this world from three as an undersized, less athletic team, buddy, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how athletic your guards are, how dominant your bigs are. If I can do one thing that can counteract where I have a disadvantage, then I can win. The tournament's about matchups. Basketball is about matchups. And what we saw in that Jabari year and Kessler year was that we were deficient in certain areas that allowed us to be taken advantage of. And it was still a weakness in the following season when Wendell and Janai were the two main players for us. We're going to continue to see that in whatever area we are deficient if we come up against the right team, because you're not getting to the tournament with a coach that doesn't know basketball, that doesn't understand matchups and how to take advantage of weaknesses in the other team. Once it's tournament time, especially for those smaller conference teams, you're not just going to go 50% of your conference and get a bid like you can when you're in the SEC and the Big 10 and 12. That means you had to earn it. Like, buddy, you have to earn it, which means you know basketball, you know matchups, you're a good coach. They know how to take advantage of what you're not good at. And unfortunately, we were further weakened by Chad Baker-Mazara's exit. Like we were. I think personally, we win that game if he's in there. You can still be down.
You continue, but you can't convince me that Chad plays that game and we lose.
Right. Well, I think we win that game if he's in there. It's completely okay to be disappointed. I think this is the first time I've been disappointed in the season. Like, hey, should we have gone further than that? I'm looking at the matchups. I'm looking at the personnel and what we're set up to achieve. 2 years ago, probably not. Miami was a team we shouldn't have wanted to see, but we saw them. So that's how they got us. Last year, we had a chance to ice a game at the free throw line against a better Houston team because Bruce Pearl is a great coach, and we just didn't get it done. This year, we fixed the outside shooting. Broome got better. Cardwell got better. The one thing we didn't have was a consistent bucket-getting slasher. Maybe that makes a difference if you don't have to play through Broome. If you have somebody where I don't have to play through my big, I can say, go get me a bucket. And because college refs are absolutely awful and whistle happy, that's an advantage in the tournament. And that's what they mean by you got to have great guard play. You have to have guards who are put their body out there, go and get the bucket and get the contact and make free throws. That's what the tournament. That's what the tournament comes down. That is what the tournament comes down to. When you hear pundits talk about how guard play is so important, that's what you have to have. We have not had a slashing, attacking, free throw hitting guard. That's their game. That's what they're best at. We haven't had that player. Denver Jones, I thought, took some great strides this season. I think he'll be better at it next season.
I was going to say, I think Denver Jones could have been that guy. I just don't think he was utilized in that way. Because he is a good free throw maker. He's a good free throw shooter, and he's a shot creator, shot maker. I think, and I've been kind of wanting to see that all season, and it came on later in the year as his utilization was increased. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll get more into what the future of Auburn basketball could be down the line, and we'll talk about as the smoke clears, who is possibly going to be returning for this team and all that sort of stuff, because there's a lot that's up in the air about what the future of this basketball team will look like next year and what the direction Coach Pearl is going to take to fill in the gaps that could be missing. So we'll see. We will see. I'm going to get over here to the chat, though, because there's a lot of chats coming in. We appreciate you guys coming in here. I'm going to start it off, as always, with Super Chat. So we will kick it off with JJ Brand, who says, if you watch a lot of tourney games, you know that luck and breaks play a huge role in winning a championship. Bruce has us in position to make the tourney each year, so the law of averages will eventually prevail. Keep the faith. I will say a couple of things about this. The first half of this, I completely agree with. I was like 100% in agreement with everything I was reading up until you got to the law of averages part, because there's no guarantees in college basketball. You can just be a perennial high achieving team that never wins a championship, right? Like it's so hard to win a championship in college basketball because it is a single elimination tournament, and the smallest of things, the margin for error in March Madness is so small. It is razor. Like, you just go back to the Final Four season. You're a double dribble call away, or man, that ain't no real foul on a 3-point shooter out in the corner away from going to the championship game. Mm-hmm. You did everything right in that game except get 2 whistles go in your direction.
Right.
The margin for error is so slim that I don't know that law of averages matters in this scenario. And there are so few teams that are flawlessly dominant, even the teams that go into that tournament where you're like, there's no way that team is losing. Look, the preseason number one, I saw a statistic some earlier today that said that this is like the 7th year in a row that the team that came in as the preseason number one didn't even make it to the Sweet 16. There's just no guarantees out here in college basketball, and a lot of it has to do with young players, right? The game is getting more dichotomous as you get further and further along, where you have either teams that have a bunch of seniors and very few, new tenured players, or it's all young players.
Right.
And you're going against people, like, you basically have 18-year-olds playing 25-year-olds in these tournament games. That's what happened to the Jabari Kessler team. You had 18, 19-year-old players playing against a bunch of 25-year-old guys that had been in college basketball a lot.
Right.
And so there's no guarantees in college basketball. So few teams achieve at that level where you're perennially in the championship conversation. Right. So, yes, Bruce Pearl has done an amazing job with this program. I don't know that there is a law of averages in college basketball. Like, Bill Self got 1, and he was there. Like,
which is crazy, right? Like, he 15. How long has he been there? It's been at least a decade. I don't know exactly how long, but they got 1, and then they've been in the conversation, or they've been,
So I guess if that's the measuring stick of, like, well, Bill Self has been there 432 times. He won it once. Like, okay, if that's the averages we're going for, you're going to ask for way more patience than Auburn fans are willing to give Bruce Pearl right now, or at least some of them. I won't categorize the entirety of the fan base as a monolith. Right.
But I want to say, I understand what JJ is saying, that you're going to get there, and yes, here's what the problem was this year. Sometimes it's you, sometimes it's the refs. I mean, we can all agree 2019
Let me make sure I understand. Hold on. That we're agreeing. Your point is, to get there, you have to get there to win it. You have to get there on a regular basis. Agreed.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Virginia lose to UMBC as the 2 seed or 1 seed before they won the Natty?
Yeah.
A good coach, Jay Wright, is a good coach. He had Virginia. Jay Wright was Villanova. Who was Virginia's coach? He retired too. I can't remember his name for anything right now. But consistently over time, you keep showing up. You get your good team right back in the tournament, and you're ready to do it again. And you're going to do it better next time. Not better. Last year, we weren't going to win the NCAA championship last year. Our team was not good enough to win the NCAA championship. This year, Tony Bennett. Thank you. Thank y'all. There's a lot of new pieces there. But, man, this is a learning experience. I hate that we wasted what was an excellent year from Janai Broome. That's the biggest loss, because you knew you only had him for 1 more year. He was flirting with the NBA last year. He came back. He proved his point. He upped his game. And now you got a centerpiece down low to build on defensively and offensively. The not capitalizing this year, I think that's the most painful thing about it, because it's going to be hard to find somebody that productive to play at that size for you year after year after year. You can build the other things up around them. Our guard play is going to improve, I believe. We took 1 step forward this year. I think we got another step to take. But, man, it's going to be hard to find another centerpiece. But you build your team differently. If you don't have that low, that guy down low, you build your team a little different. You can be more slashers. You can be more, 2-4s high that are willing to play big man defense. Kind of like small ball for Golden State when they were really good. That's essentially what you have to do. You take your personnel and you fit it to, you take your gameplay and you fit it to the personnel that you have, and you make another run at it, man. And Bruce Pearl he keeps getting here.
Yeah.
with a cast of characters that everybody thought was just laughable.
Right. Because preseason,
The jokes were all were
Yeah.
flying about
Yeah.
who we were and who we weren't. And really, it came down to missing. We had an All-American that came from Morehead State. We had probably the most critical person missing in that game was a guy who came from JUCO. But that's a signal of a good coach. It is disappointing. You hate when refs get involved, whether it's putting too many fouls on your guys or making bad calls. But this is part of sports, and Yale deserved to win. They played better. Down the stretch, the turnovers and the missed free throws. How long have we heard that story about us? That we deserved to lose. If you're going to miss those shots, you miss those bunnies, you turn the ball over. That's the game. And they play better than us. They deserve to win it.
Let's see. Tatiana says she is wearing her SEC champion shirt with pride today in Florida. Not mad at that at all. I will definitely have some SEC tournament champ gear at some point in time. So listen, I still am very proud of the team for what they accomplished in the SEC championship. I'm disappointed in how the season ended. Absolutely. If they had gotten to the Sweet 16 and lost there, I'd probably be a little less disappointed. I'd be like, okay, well, they ran up against a UConn team that was really good, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Like, if it had felt a little different than losing to Yale. But, hey, it is what it is. We're here now. Tim comes in and says, "Hi" is an understatement in regard to the level of frustration that Auburn fans are experiencing right now.
Yeah.
Christian Crawford jumps in and says, "I am still sick. There was something about this basketball team that gave me hope that we'd win it all." Listen, it's a good team, man.
Yeah.
Bruce Pearl all season had been saying the strength of this team was the depth. Our 10 versus your 7, 8, right? You take one of those guys away, and now it's our 9. And then Jay Will gets an early injury where he's a little hobbled. And now it's like our 8.5.
Now our foul trouble on Chaney.
Right. Chaney Johnson gets in foul trouble. Now it's down to like 7.5. Right. And you're not used to having and then Aiden's not playing well. So it's really like down to 7 because he's only like half of what you want as far as your rotations. You're not used to playing guys in those kind of minutes. So your team isn't built to be able to play this way. Right. And that was the ultimate undoing. And this is the portion of where I don't blame the officials for Auburn losing this basketball game. So let me be clear and state that. The officials are not the reason Auburn lost. Auburn still had opportunities to win this game despite how horribly officiated I felt like this game was.
Right.
But the officials definitely brought that handicap down, right? Like if you're talking about Vegas odds and there's a handicap, Yale had it was like a 13-point spread.
12.5,
right?
yeah.
12.5, 13 points. They brought that handicap back down to where it was like, all right, well, y'all might have this advantage. Well, we're going to take that advantage away from you. Now it's even. Let's see who can go out here and win. And Auburn didn't win this more evenly matched contest because of the way it was officiated. Again, that's not the officials making you lose. You still got to go out there and win the game. And you had chances to. But I definitely had hopes that this team would go out there and be better than a first-round exit for sure. JJ Brand back in. It's baseball season and football spring practice, early recruiting season. So he's saying, hey, we're on to the next thing. I'm not quite on to the next thing yet, but yes, it is that season as well. And baseball, our guys over at Uptempo are doing an amazing job of covering that. You guys make sure that you lock in with them, and we'll definitely have them on talking some baseball takes as the season progresses. Tim jumps back in. Had to take a break from Auburn Sports after that loss. Hey, listen, I haven't watched. I ain't gonna hold you. I ain't watched a single NCAA game after that. I haven't watched one of them.
Wait, I don't know if y'all heard this, but after Friday, they canceled all the rest of the games. No other games have been played. So yeah, the app's off the phone. The app's off the Roku. Like the tournament's over. They just suspended it like it was COVID all over again. They just stopped it.
I have not. The only thing I have seen is people's reactions online to stuff that happened. Like, oh, that's crazy, man. They threw that person down and they didn't get a flagrant 2 in that. Didn't watch the game. Couldn't tell you what happened. I don't even know who's winning what right now. The only reason I even remotely know what's happening as far as wins and losses is because I still have our bracket challenge going on right now, and I'm watching the results there. Shout out to everybody who entered the bracket challenge. Outside of that, couldn't tell you what's happening with the. And people who follow this channel know that's how I am about everything. Once my team is out of it, screw that sport. I don't pay no attention to that no more. And that doesn't make me not a fan of sports. I love sports. I just love my team more. Brad Browning says, Wardam Eagle B. Will, it's football season.
It hurts
Are
so
you
bad
there?
to say that the first weekend, dog. Like the first weekend to lose the first game, like to even have to say, I can't do it yet. I can't do it yet, man. Because it's not football season. It's spring.
Yeah.
It's something to digest with football, but it ain't, man. It should still be basketball season. I can't even do it.
More super chats. So we skip down here. Tim says somebody is going over the top rope in the chat. I don't know what's happening in the chat right now. I'm reading stuff, but I ain't reading because it's coming in super quickly. Another super chat here from Corey. He says, if you guys were in charge of the basketball roster, what moves do you make to improve this team? This is a great question. So first and foremost, I don't know. Guard play has got to get better, right? And so as far as moves are concerned, you've got a scoring guard that's coming in this freshman class.
Yeah.
Whether or not he's going to be ready into Todd Pettiford to come in and be a day one contributor that's going to make a big difference in how this team is able to get buckets from the guard position, I don't know the answer to that. And it's really too early as far as moves until you know for sure Janai Broome is going to go pro, right? You're 90% right now that's probably going to be. But how the season ended, he might say, man, I feel like I got unfinished business and come back for another year, depending upon what the draft experts say about his grade and all that sort of thing. So I don't know in that regard. Is Dylan Cardwell going to come back for another season? Do you have your defensive big that's going to be coming off of the bench potentially or being your starting defensive anchor? I don't know the answer to that yet.
Right.
What you do know is Jalen Williams doesn't have eligibility left. He's gone. Yeah. You've got to replace that 4 position with somebody who can be a bucket getter. Chad Baker-Mazara will be a returning player, but he and Jay Will are such different kind of athletes. Chad's really more of a 3. Stretch 4 that he is a 4. So you're going to be missing, right? Again, you don't know what you're having in Janai and Cardwell. You got Chaney there, right? So let's just put a hypothetical. Nobody leaves that is a
if they still have eligibility left that they come back.
Except for Janai. I'm going to leave Janai and Dylan out of this, right? Because, Dylan's a senior. Janai had 5th year in college, right? So I'm going to leave them out of this. So let's just say you've got Aiden coming back, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to have Denver coming back. You'll have Chaney and you'll have Chad. Those will probably be 4 of your starting 5 right there.
Right.
The question is your bench, right? So Trey Donaldson still on the team, presumably. People speculate whether or not Trey is going to return. I don't know a reason why he would leave, but let's just say he comes back because we're not going to put that kind of juju out there, right? Yeah. And then your other guard is now going to be Todd Pettiford. And does KD come back for, a final year? I don't know on that regard either, but I'm going to say we'll take KD off of this too because he's graduated already. So your guard rotation now becomes Aiden, Trey, Denver, Tahad as your 4 guards.
Right.
At the 3 spot, again, I would put Chad more as a 3 than I would a 4, even though he's 6'7". You've got Chad, and I guess Simo is still going to be there, maybe, right?
I'd love to have Simo back for some minutes.
So you've got that's 6 guys in your rotation. Then you've got the 4 spot of Chaney, who's going to be your 4/3. That's where it gets hairy, right? Because you've got AD on the bench right now who was on scholarship but really playing kind of as a backup that he can slide in there and he can be a rotational player for you. You've got questions in your front court. You've got the other guy that is the true freshman coming in whose name is escaping me right now for some reason. Yeah.
What's his last name?
He can jump out of the gym, bro. But yeah, you've got him coming in. So I think you're in a good spot, right? But you need a scoring big at this point in time. You don't have a scoring big in that. Even if Cardwell comes back, you have to have a scoring big. The biggest thing is, are you going to have Janai back? Jakai Howard, thank you so much for the in the chat there, Wesley. Are you going to have a scoring big? You need somebody at that 4-5 spot who can actually get you points in the paint. And I don't know what the answer is going to be there if Janai doesn't return. That's the biggest thing. Other than that, I think you're actually in a really good spot to reload and come back with a really good team again next year.
I think you need another big. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if Janai and Cardwell don't come back, you need 2. If you only get one of those 2, you need 1, and that other one needs to be a scorer.
Right. And I think we're probably hard pressed to find a scoring big, because I think that's harder to find than a great scoring guard is. Like a big that's actually, well, in college, you can have a 6'8" guy that's a big because he's going to be bigger than most guys that play the 4 or the 5. But a true, like, Janai is probably like, 6'8", 6'9". Like, he's not like 7 feet tall, but he's skilled.
He's listed as 6'10".
Right. But you know what I'm saying? Like, he ain't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder what the market is for that, because I know Bruce doesn't want to go to college. Like, we missed out on Badunga, you know, right? We let Peyton Marshall walk because we thought we had a shot at Badunga. We didn't get him. And now we are. We don't have an athletic 4 or 5 coming in, at least not with the signing class. That's, well, hey, there's your defense. Hey, there's your shot blocker. Hey, there's your easy 2 points. I don't think anybody down there was going to be as good offensively. Janai being a third-year player with this offense, like, that's not something you're going to find easily. And if there's a guy out there who is that skilled with a roughly Janai's size, is he also a willing defender? Because that's something that you don't get both of those.
I have confidence in Coach Pearl to go find that guy because he found him in Janai Broom, right? And he has done well at going and finding guys that fit his system. There's a lot of talent out there around the country. They scout the lower ranks of college basketball just about as good as anybody. I have confidence that if Janai doesn't return, they'll find somebody. Listen, I don't know if he's going to be Janai because Janai wasn't Walker, right? Like, they're going to be different kinds of players.
Right.
You know, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. But, I don't really know if I have a great answer to that question right now, Corey, but I think that the team is really in a pretty good space to be able to only have to make a few tweaks if you don't lose guys to the transfer portal. Again, this is assuming neither Aiden nor Trey decides that they want to go to the transfer portal. This is assuming that, I don't think anybody else who's on this team is really looking elsewhere, but like a guy like Simo doesn't say I'm done, or KD, doesn't come back or something like that. Like, there's a lot of assumptions still left out there. All right, we're going to take a quick break because I do want to get into some specific things that were asked here. We're going to get back into your comments here, but we'll be talking a little bit more about this whole situation going on with Auburn Sports. You all are watching the Weekend Tailgate.
Yep.
This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. The Opelika Rage Room in Opelika, Alabama. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Call or text 334-777-6688 to set up a session today, or check them out online at opelikaRageroom.com. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com.
As always, thank you to the sponsors of the War Report. Special thanks to Golden's Cast Iron for bringing you today's Weekend Tailgate. Make sure you hit them up at goldenscastiron.com/WR. That lets them know that the War Report sent you over there. Get your weight up, get you 15% off of weights. TWR gets you $65 off of fire pits and Kamado grills. If you are not a member, click that join button. A lot of great stuff coming for you. A little less basketball than I had planned. Coming up for you guys over the next week and a half, but we still got plenty of football stuff to talk about. I have so much football film to get into, so we're going to make sure that we talk about that stuff. If you want to gift a membership, you can do that right now. Somebody get a free month of membership on you, and then hashtag get your weight up in the live chat. We'll be giving away a mug here in just about 20 minutes or so. All right. Let's get back over here into these comments that we have. You guys are doing a great job of supplying us with plenty to talk about. Corey jumps back in and says, was Goodman correct about our guard play? I will say this definitively, no. Because what Goodman said was our guards are not athletic. He said he didn't know whether or not our guards would be athletic enough to play with the Yale guards. It wasn't the athleticism of the Yale guards that was the issue for Auburn's guards. It was really Auburn's inability to make free throws and not turn the ball over. Yale's athleticism didn't bother Auburn. Let's be clear about that. Now, I said before the game, the dude Poulikitis is a baller, but he's a tall guard. I guess he's like 6'7", and so maybe that would, like, his ability to get his shot off really against a late closeout is but he wasn't like, man, he's just too athletic. No, that's that. Listen, so no, Goodman was not correct about athleticism in our guard play being an issue. No. Yes, our guard play let us down in that game because it wasn't because they weren't athletic enough, though. That was a really weak take by Goodman. And I don't disrespect his basketball knowledge. I thought that was a terrible take, though. Yeah. And Yale winning does not prove him correct. Now, Yale's really good at drawing fouls. I'll say that.
Are they? The rest really just good at calling them.
Yeah. Corey Weber, excuse me, I already read that one off. Let's see. Kyle Sweat jumps in and says, folks, we've won 4 SEC championships in 7 seasons. That equals all the champions in the school's past. Definitely a good perspective note there from Kyle about
that's
where
good
we
to
are.
make note of. Important to make note of.
Yeah. Lawrence Robinson, fans get frustrated. Do y'all think the taste of potential championships between baseball, College World Series, Final Four, and even national championship appearance under Gus contributes to our frustration?
Yes, I do think that colors people's perception about what should be happening the following year or after that. Like, hey, well, you can get there now. Just get there and go further. But of course, that's not how it works. You are rebuilding a team every single year, really from scratch. Not really from scratch, because baseball, you probably keep more of your players definitely than you do in basketball or football for the most part. But no, man, like it's a testament to honestly be able to reproduce postseason appearances. Like, that is a coaching job, because you aren't guaranteed anything. You lost your main ball handler last year. You lost your best on-ball defender last year. You returned 4 starters, and you ended up deeper with better regular season results. You just have to do it differently. Every year in basketball, you have to find a new way to do it, because your players are going to change. They're going to opt out. They're going to go pro. You're going to have some guys you thought you could count on, like a Chance Westry, and they're going to transfer. And you thought you had a role ready for him his freshman year. It didn't work out. All right, well, you projected him forward. Oh, well, look, he's leaving.
Yeah.
So now, undo what you thought you were going to do and redo it quickly. We went JUCO. We went Division II, and put together the better regular season team than we had last year. From guys who actually had a somewhat of a tournament run the year prior. I think it's really complicated. It's really complicated. It's too many moving parts to distill it down to, well, you got there, do it again, now get further. It's an oversimplification of how hard coaching is.
I don't like the previous, in the era of the transfer portal and NIL, it's very difficult to say you won this many games this last season. If you don't win that much or more games the next season, then yes, it is a regression, right? But it's not that linear a thought process for most teams that are not at the elite level of college sports, not just basketball. We're talking football, anything, to be able to just reload every year and then continue and build upon the previous season. It's not like it used to be where, like you said, I can build my roster and know what I've got in my coffers and be able to just say, all right, well, I know I've got this many guards that are going to be coming back this year. I got this many. I don't know any of that stuff today.
Right.
Until the transfer portal closes, I don't know what I have on my roster going into that next season. Right. And so you've got to you're starting from scratch almost every offseason.
Yes.
And if you're not starting from scratch and you were a good team, then I don't know how you're doing it, because good teams, specifically in basketball, a lot of those players leave for the league. It isn't about a transfer portal. If you got really good players, they're going to go play pro ball. And if you've got really good players that are there with you 3 and 4 years, 9 times out of 10, you're not already an elite team. You're a team that was in a mid-major conference, and you've been working your way up with those elite players. And they really only need that one good showing to decide they're jumping to another team or they're jumping to the league.
Right. Yeah. So it's hard.
So,
and
I think the frustration is the near misses compounded with your close rival's success. I think that's the frustration for the Auburn fan.
Yeah, that's true. Because, I don't think Bruce Pearl is a comparable coach to Nate Oates. I think Bruce Pearl is a better coach than Nate Oates. I think that's proven on display when late in the season, I think they lost 3 out of 4 to end the season, and here we are going on a 4-game winning streak, however many it was, to end the season and win the SEC tournament. I think that's good. That's progress. That's a positive thing. But here they go, and they win their first tournament game, even though I don't think their opponent was as good as Yale. But it doesn't matter. We're going to measure it by last results. I still would not want a coach other than Bruce Pearl. And let's be clear here. There is not a better basketball coach than Bruce Pearl that Auburn could get.
I don't know about how good any of the mid-major folks are, blah, blah, blah. I just know Coach. Let's forget who Auburn could get and just stop the sentence at Auburn has a really good basketball coach in Bruce Pearl.
Right.
He's
When I
good.
say
Like,
could get, if you tell somebody, hey, well, Jay Wright wants to come back and coach, then, okay, you get Jay Wright because he won a championship.
Right.
Okay, then as far as perception because of what he has
understood.
won,
Right.
that would
go
be
get
it.
Mike Krzyzewski like to
Right.
unretire and be the coach, something like
Right.
that.
So
Gotcha.
if something like that was going to happen, yeah, but there is not a better coach than Bruce Pearl. Like, you prove to me there's a better coach than Bruce Pearl coaching right now. I would love to hear the argument for that.
Let's see here. All right. There's a lot more comments that we've got highlighted here. I want to transition to another thing that I said I was going to address head on. And this is a question asked here by Lawrence Robinson. A lot of people asked it. Multiple people asked this in the chat. We just saw his question about it because that's the first one that I saw. Did y'all agree with Jake Crane on the frustrations of the fans? I have a lot to say about this, but so before I go into my situation, Will, you said you didn't really get an opportunity to see it, so no. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it.
Jay Boy is a fan of Auburn, so he's a fan of Auburn sports, and like many fans over the last 24 hours, we have been emotional and we have been hurt, and it hurts to watch your team lose, especially when you feel like they're better equipped than what the result is that they got out of that season. My only take on it would be, of course, everybody has the right to their opinion. In the grand scheme of who's winning NCAA sports and how often it's happening, I don't know what would entitle us as Auburn fans to feel like we deserve to win more than the fans of any other team that is out there competing. Are we trying our hardest? Are we supporting our team with all the fervor that we possibly can? Why, yes, we are. Do we feel like we have players that don't live up to the expectation as far as the effort they put in and the time and commitment? No, we have that. Do we have coaches that we feel like know the games, that are equipped to do their jobs? Yes, we feel like we have that. Well, that's it. You support and you buy your tickets and you go to the games and you cheer and you root and you hope for the best, but 98.7% of teams are not winning championships in anything. And that's the reality of college sports. Does it hurt? Yes. Are we spending our money so you want a better return? Yes. This is sports. This is sports, period. And this is college sports. That is the extent of my feelings on the subject. Anything past that, feel the hurt, feel the pain, you soak it up, and you get ready to root for this team the next year because we could be doing way worse than we're doing right now.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, B. Will. Mm-hmm. My thoughts. First and foremost, I think that what he said came from a place of fan frustration, and I understand it completely. 100% completely understand what he said. And I agree with the spirit of what he was trying to say in it, which is fans come and support this team to the nth degree. Like what he said that I agree with, like fans show up, they give you really great environments when it comes to Jordan-Hare Stadium, when it comes to Neville Arena. Plainsman Park is getting there as far as fans and fan environments, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got a lot of really great environments that fans are coming and supporting with, and that fan environment has not been rewarded with championships, right? Mm-hmm. So I agree that it's frustrating to come and do that and you still don't get championship. But where I disagree with him, and if you haven't seen it, it's a video he posted on Twitter. Shout out to him. He does a great job with his channel over there at Crane & Company. So this isn't about him, right? Let me just make that clear. I don't have this. This is about what he said in his comments. He said that the fan support is where it needs to be. The only people not doing their part are the players and the coaches. I don't know how to even begin to take that statement, because the fan portion is to show up and cheer. Yes, you're doing your part. You're showing up and cheering. The player portion is to prepare for games. Coaches get players prepared for games, call plays, call sets, bring in players XYZ, go out there and play hard, right? You want them to win, but their job is to give you maximum effort the entire time. So if you feel as if they're not giving the proper effort, and that's the reason they're not winning championships, that's different, right? If you can go out there, it's like, man, this team is just. I don't know that I agree that there's an effort issue with college sports right now as far as Auburn is concerned. I just think that, listen, they don't have the elite level of players at every level when you're talking about any of these sports, right? If we're talking about football, because he specifically said Auburn Athletics, and then he gave a pass to Coach Freeze because he hasn't been here long enough. And he camped out on Auburn basketball for a while. He made a mention of baseball, which I think, again, is if you're talking about recruiting advantages, Auburn baseball is at a distinct disadvantage when you talk about recruiting for baseball. So the fact that this team has perennially been to the postseason, SEC tournaments, all that sort of thing, under Coach Butch Thompson is amazing. Like, Butch Thompson is an amazing baseball coach and has overachieved with Auburn baseball pretty much year in and year out. So I don't really know how you could have much beef with baseball, considering where the disadvantage is for them just to begin with, in the way that team is funded, in the way that they can go and get scholarships. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we had a conversation with Butch Thompson that's on our channel right now. He breaks down the disadvantage that teams in the state of Alabama have in the ways that they can get scholarships. So I don't really know how baseball can even play into that, other than disappointment that you have with, this team could be really good, but it's hard to build a winner at Auburn in baseball. Butch Thompson's done that. Kudos to him. Despite the success that Coach Pearl has had, and despite the fact that he is paid as a top 5 coach in college basketball right now, let's be clear, Auburn basketball still takes a big backseat to Auburn football and has outperformed it in the last 5 years. It's not even close. Auburn basketball has out. So the funding for Auburn basketball, when I looked at the top funded or the top revenue grossing basketball programs, Auburn's not even in the top 30 in the country. Not even in the top 30. So we're talking about a program that is perennially in the top 25 conversation. And I said the exact opposite when we talked about the conversation with Auburn football about how we're paying the coach to be in the top 10 and we're funding them in the top 10, but you're perennially outside the top 25. You can pretty much flip that around for college basketball, where the funding isn't in the top 30. The revenue is gross is not in the top 30. Now, you are paying him as a top 5 coach, but he has delivered 4 championships. Now, it's not national championships, but he's being paid as a top 2 SEC coach and delivered 4 SEC championships in his 10-year tenure. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Go ask Kentucky fans, would they take 4 SEC championships in the last 10 years? And Calipari's the top paid coach in the conference by a pretty big margin. Yeah. He's one of the top paid coaches in the country and can't win an SEC championship, regular season or tournament. It's not easy. So I don't know about I don't really even know where to begin with trying to say that. I get the frustration, but that I don't know. I'm not there. Where I agree with him is, yes, this team underachieved. Yeah, they did 100%, and it's frustrating as a fan to see that. And I don't think that anybody should. I am not of mind, because I asked this question on Twitter a long time ago, that we should continue to be in this. Well, if you don't like where Auburn basketball is right now, remember where it was before Coach Pearl. I get that, but at some point in time, you've got to measure Coach Pearl teams versus Coach Pearl teams, and not the history of Auburn basketball. Right. Not, well, we were terrible before he got here. You should be thankful. Okay, you were a bum and somebody gave you a sandwich. You should be thankful. Yes, great. Am I still a bum after I got that sandwich? And do I need to figure out a way to not be a bum? Yes. Thankful for the sandwich. Thank you so much. I have a meal today. I am not going to sit here and be like, man, well, at least I got a sandwich, and chill on the curb if I need to go make some money. Yeah. So, yes, they need to achieve better. Absolutely. I am with that 100%. But to act as if, I guess the part where I got off the train with him, we diverted paths was in his final "you grow or you go" statement. Who finna go? Who's going somewhere? who finna go? Who are you telling to leave, my boy? Like, I'm what are we talking about right now? You grow or are you saying that to Coach Pearl and his staff? You grow or you go? Is that where that's directed? Is that directed at the guy who was in the conversation for SEC Player of the Year, was on the first team SEC, like grow or you go to Janai Broome? Are we saying that to Chad, who won first team all conference in the tourney? Grow or you go. That's who you say. Like who are you talking? Like, let's be more specific. Who needs to go if they don't grow? And what is that growth metric that you're talking about? Because that can't be at the coach that won 4 championships in the last 7 years. You can't be telling him to grow or go. Like, I get it. And then he was like, it doesn't. The SEC tournament championship doesn't matter, as if he hasn't won regular season championships in the last 3 seasons. Like, I'm confused, bro. Like, I don't know. So the question was asked, do I agree with him? In a small part, yes. Mm-hmm. In a much larger part, you went too far, my boy. You went too far. You took it that 1 or 2 steps too far. You were Chad Baker, who got hit, and you decided you was going to retaliate with an elbow. And it's like, oh, that's not the way we get back at him. We get back at him in a different way. You went too far. That's a flagrant 2 assess to you, my boy. Calm down and chill out for just a minute. You went 1 step too far.
Yeah. Yeah.
The sentiment I agree with.
Yeah.
But I ain't.
Over time, I think you can get a bearing of how things are going to go for a coach. People, you know me, and those who have been on the channel long enough know that I could see the lines and what Gus had built were starting to show, even during that 2017 season. But you're faced with a choice. Do you think there's something better? Do you let him go after just winning the West and beating Bama and Georgia, or do you go and get somebody new? But you could see a pattern of decline in recruiting, in offensive output over the last 3 seasons after he signed that extension in late 2017. You could see that happening. We haven't seen anything close to decline for Bruce Pearl as far as the product that he puts on the field. What we saw was the NBA G League out-recruiting us for several years, and our outside shooting and offensive output suffering because of it. For the first time in a very long time, Bruce said, not chasing those. I'm going to rebuild it like this. What I see is adaptation from Bruce Pearl. I see maturation as a coach, adjusting to getting the types of players that he wants, but not chasing them by traditional means. I'm going to look at your first year at where you played, your second year where you played. I'm going to extrapolate that like, oh, look at that skill set. He can do that. We got so-and-so coming down off the curl. If he can set the screen and then crash the boards for us, look, he does that extremely well. But he played in the middle of nowhere with nobodies on a team that didn't win anything. But I see what he can do. Let me go and get him because I think he can be a baller here. That's your recruiting now. It's not chasing the 5-star guards that's necessarily going to be an All-American that every other major program is going to be after. That's not the game. That's not his game. He has adjusted to how he builds his teams. And to be fair, I still think this was an outstandingly built team. You lose one guy, Lior, only a few minutes, but okay, that's fine. Chad Baker
we need
Mazar,
to mention Lior Berman not being available, but continue.
Right. Because if the entire strength of the team was, I don't have one guy who is a perimeter all defensive player and a number one a slashing outside shooting killer threat from everywhere, but what I do have is a bunch of guys who can do a lot of different things, and they all up their game over the course of the season to meet the roles that I demanded of them. I think this was a great built team. The circumstances of this game were you needed a Chad Baker Mazar. Sometimes one guy's going to be more important than the other guys, and that just depends on your matchups. So if you've got a 6'7" Chad Baker Mazar with long arms, that's a great perimeter defender and also can put the ball on the ground, get to the rim, also can shoot it from outside 3. Listen, he might not be a lottery pick, but that is a damn valuable piece to have on your team, and it's a hell of a piece to be missing the day of. The day of. It's not like you got to, all right, we're going to have to shift this up. So the whole week before in practice, we're going to play this without Chad Baker Mazara. So we know who's going to come in, when they're going to come in. I've adjusted my rotations, times, minutes, all that. You don't get to do that.
Which is why I feel bad for Florida in the SEC championship. You come into that game and one of your key pieces goes down super early in that game. That's rough. Like that. At that point in time, you have to say to yourself, yo, how are we going to win this game, bro? Like we have played a certain way all year.
Right.
all year with these pieces, and in the first few minutes of the game, you say, all right, but you can't have that. I know you've been planning to have that this whole time.
Right,
You can't
right.
have it. Nope.
Right.
Nope. That's part of your
yeah.
advantage. Here, we're going to take it away from you. Now figure it out on the fly.
Right. Right. And that's
tough.
That's tough, especially in football games. Like when a kid gets hurt early or he gets thrown out, it's like, all right, this is weird because if you had given me a week of practice, he gets hurt in this game, now we got to go play the next game. I got a week to get reps on this next guy, to get him accustomed to what the other guy was doing, or to do something new. Right here on the fly in the moment, we don't know how big of a you talked about the value of Chad Baker-Mazara being able to move him and tire the other guy out. Our advantage is depth. I can get your best outside playmaker tired with having a really good offensive player on the court. That was almost the entire when Steph and company, they were doing all this stuff. Somebody's going to have to chase Steph. Okay, well, I can be a decoy if I've got a KD or if I've got a Klay Thompson shooting crazy from everywhere. You're going to have to chase me, and what are you going to do? You're going to be tired. Your legs are going to be gone. And now whatever type of defense you might have been willing to play or might have been able to play or whatever type of lift you thought you would have on that shot as a shooter, an outside shooter, you don't. And that's the advantage of having superior numbers because now you're tired, but I can bring in a Chaney if he's not in foul trouble to now put you and back you down and give you the little outside jumper. What are you going to do? Nothing. Your legs are gone because I had Chad Baker-Mazara tire you out for 10 minutes to start this game. There's a lot that you lose there. I thought that the advantage was a sound advantage. It was a sound strategy for how he built this team. Yes, ultimately, it does come down to, are you going to win it, yes or no? I think that's a little too black and white for the success of a coach with something like college basketball, because college basketball is crazy luck, bounce of the ball. Refs are awful in college basketball, and honestly, you can't get around them. We still don't know if we would have been looking at a NCAA championship in 2019 if not for refs. Yes, it's sad and it's unfortunate, but that's the case. You have to almost be good enough to beat the team, good enough to be better than getting a bad bounce of the ball, and good enough to absorb some bad calls from referees too. You do. And you have to have luck. It's crazy, which is why I would never make it, this is not a successful program or coach. In college basketball, no, like that's not the sport.
Unless you're coaching at Kentucky. Let's be clear. Unless you're coaching at Kentucky.
Yeah, okay.
Because John Calipari, come on, bro. Like, what are we doing?
It's been so long. When did they win that championship? Was it 2011, 9? I don't know.
Bro. And every year you get your pick of the best recruits. Like you just like, I want this one, this one, this one, this one. Come on, let's go. And you can't find a way to win anything. Like win something, bro. Like I ain't saying you got to win everything, but win something.
Yeah. Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I don't understand. I don't know that I understand that one step too far. And then he was talking about, crying, and it's like Coach Pearl was like doing the exact opposite of crying about his situation. Like he basically was like, hey, listen, we got to go up here and play a basketball game. It is what it is now. Let's go and do it. Now, Stephen Pearl was mad. Stephen Pearl was definitely out there like on some, we got screwed XYZ, but Coach Bruce Pearl wasn't. Yeah. He never, the most he said is he didn't think that they should have to go all the way to Spokane, but he said it one time and he moved on.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And to be fair here, when we saw the seeding after the conference tournaments, it definitely looked like they had this stuff locked in. It looked like they 100%. Had these picks locked in probably before the championship Sunday started. They're like, oh, they made the championship, oh, they can go here. And that is, I think we all need some type of transparency with all this stuff, which is why I don't like committees. I like the thing I like about the new 12-team playoff is if you won your conference, you're top 6. If the highest ranked conference champions. But I know if I won my conference, I'm going. It matters. It accounts for something. Let me know where I stand.
The auto bid portion is there, but to your point, you're talking about the seating and how they have people placed within that seating should change based upon the conference. Like if we're gonna however many conference champions there are, the way they're moving to in the football way, you want to say, hi, we got this many conference champions, they're gonna automatically be seeds 1 through 4 in the thing. And then you're saying like we should do something same in basketball. If we got 16 conference champions, seeds 1 through 16 need to be champions, and then everybody else falls in line after that. I'm not against that. I mean, you definitely would have some really weird matchups going at the.
Oh yeah.
But hey, it is what it is. You still got to beat the best teams out there. All right. Anyway, that's enough on that. I said I was going to address it. I have a lot more I could say about it, but yeah, it is what it is. Appreciate the one Bama fan trolling here. That's
Anybody who is willing to use their time to go to another channel's chat is a loser. So thank you, sir, for showing up. I would never be on Bama shows to talk about anything. I don't care enough about y'all.
Appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Next time, super chat it though, so we can make a little money off of it too.
Yeah.
So and then I'll actually acknowledge you by name. Anyway, a few more, and then we'll get over here to this drawing and. We'll get out of here, man. We ain't gonna talk. I think we've said enough for the day after we get through these chats. Ernest jumps in and says, "Does he start in the league though?" IDK. I don't know if that's possible. I think this is in reference to Janai Broom.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he's a starter in the NBA. I think he's a rotational piece, and maybe he could work his way to being a starter. I don't even know right now where his draft stock is, just because Janai plays a style of basketball that I don't know that the NBA values very much anymore.
Right.
And he needed this additional year to improve his draft stock, to show he can step out and shoot threes, to show, he can be a better passer from the post and the high post and things of that nature.
Right.
And I just don't know that he is he's built for today's NBA, right? Like, crazily enough, Chad Baker-Mazara is probably more built for today's NBA than Janai Broom is, and I think player for player, Janai Broom is the more valuable piece to this Auburn team.
Right. In college, as a college prospect, he's definitely the more valuable piece. Yeah.
So, yeah, and let me be clear about this. I love when fans from other teams come to our chat. I just don't know why you come here just to troll. Like, participate in the conversation or just watch or
We get some really good fans, like week of game days of football. Like, they actually come and talk ball with us a little bit. Like, that's always fun.
Yeah, but this ain't like we just in here talking Auburn, so you just in here to troll. It's like, bro, you need something else to do with your life. It doesn't Bama have a game today?
Don't they? I don't know. The tournament's ended on Friday. I don't know if y'all heard. I don't know what's going on with basketball.
James Barnett says, our guards were good enough to help us win the SEC championship. Now, all of a sudden, they are not good enough. Yes, they play inconsistent at times, but that's who we have for now. Just my opinion. I mean, I think that both of those statements actually can be true. Yes, they were good enough to win the tournament championship, and no, they were not good enough for us to win this game versus Yale/national championship. Here's one thing that is of note. The brand of basketball that the SEC plays in both women's and men's basketball. I haven't said this enough. Shout out to the women's basketball team, even though they had a disappointing end to their season. Shout out to them for making the NCAA tournament in Coach Johnny Harris's third season at Auburn, going from a team that won 0 conference games to a team that went to the NCAA tournament. Again, trending upwards when we're talking about the trajectory of Auburn athletics. Like, I don't want to beat the whole Jake Crane thing into the ground too much, but he titled his video "The State of Auburn Athletics," and you've got teams in the Auburn gymnastics team again that is at a disadvantage, that is showing up every single season and making waves in gymnastics, a program that has never been a really big powerhouse in gymnastics, a baseball team that is continuously, we can go down the line of teams that are really overachieving in Auburn athletics, and though they have disappointing ends to their seasons, I don't know that you can say the state of Auburn athletics is in this poor place. Other than the football team, which he gave a reprieve to because it's too early in Coach Freeze's tenure. Like, football has just been bad for a while. And you're like, well, it's too early for Coach Freeze for me to take a shot at him, so I'm gonna take a shot at everybody else who's overachieving in what they're. Anyway, but yeah, shout out to them. But I think that Auburn athletics is actually in a pretty good place, and I like what I've spent a while on one of our previous shows talking about. I like what John Cohen is bringing from an athletic director standpoint to the energy he's infusing into these programs and his determination to kind of get Auburn over the hump in a couple of places. So love what I'm seeing there. I think the only place right now that I I'm not equipped enough, but I see the fan frustration enough to think that there's some smoke to, or some fire to that smoke, is in softball, where it feels as if they're kind of perennially underachieving some expectations there, or just not meeting the minimum bar as far as the continued output there. But I don't know enough about softball to have a passionate take about where Mickey Dean should be in, as a manager for a softball team. I don't really know what to even say there. So I stay out of that conversation. I let people who actually know better about softball have that conversation. George Island says, did winning the SEC and playing, okay, all right. He's basically saying playing 3 games hurt our team going all the way and winning the SEC. Did it hurt them in going into the tournament and not having the additional rest, is what that question essentially is saying.
It hurts if you have to travel to Spokane, Washington. That's when it hurts. That's when it hurts. You play in a regional that's Atlanta, then no, it's fine. You get on the bus, you go home, you're back in Auburn on Sunday night, and maybe you practice a couple of days, you take a bus to Atlanta, you rest. It costs you some rest having to travel to Spokane, Washington. Sure, which is again why they were upset about the seeding. They're not thinking about we can't beat anybody out here. That's not what you're saying. What you're saying is, hey, if teams are going to be able to play and win on Championship Sunday, then maybe don't fly me across the country in a day and a half. Like it's that puts you at a disadvantage for being the team that plays further into the conference postseason and doing some winning. So yeah, I do think there's something to that, but I don't think it was that we won that game, because there's a full 6 days between when you play again. It's that, what do you have to do in those 6 days?
Rest was not this team wasn't tired. That was not the reason they lost this game.
Not with that depth. We had our subs in at the end of the SEC championship tournament game. So
the only thing that hurt this team was inability to make free throws down the stretch and not having one of the best 6 men in the country, or who had moved into a starting spot in Chad Baker-Mazara, play that game. This team was built for the postseason, and you have this fine-tuned machine, and you were like, well, let me just strip one of the gears out of it and see if it can still roll at the same speed it was doing. It's like, nah, that's not how cars work, bro. Like, I need all 4 of my wheels in order to move at premium speed. You took one of the wheels off the car and was like, now let me see how fast you could drive. And then you got mad at them for losing a race. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, that's kind of what happens in that situation. And you still almost won, right? And so almost doesn't count. What I don't want people to hear in all of this is that I'm somehow satisfied with how this season ended. And I hope I've made that abundantly clear. No, it sucked. That's not where this team should have finished. And they still should have won that game despite all of those things, 100%. And the team themselves will tell you that. And I've said this before. It's this weird fan thing where it's like, we deserve. Do you think them players wanted to lose that game? Right. You think they're sitting here feeling good about how their season ended? What you deserve is a team that gives you their all. Yes, they missed some opportunities out there. And yes, they are paid because they're getting NIL. That does not mean that you get to say whatever you want to the folks. And man, as fans, we deserve better. We spend our hard-earned money to go out. Man, you know how many hours these folks put in just to go out here and give you a product to come and support? Right. Man, they deserve all the support you giving them. It's a fair trade. You show up and you support, and they give you their all out there on the playing fields and courts. That's a fair trade, bro. That's all they. And they're doing this for themselves as much as you all. Right. Come on, man. We got to be better than this, bro. We got to be better than this, because y'all will be the same people. We're probably the same people talking a bunch of junk just last week about how great this team was and hyping them up and, man, I love this player, this and this and that. And then they do something wrong. So y'all always knew that such and such wasn't no good. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. Let's be real, man. Be frustrated. I'm frustrated right there with you. Man, yeah. But you know what I would do if I had an opportunity? Hey, man, y'all played a hell of a game, bro. You go out there and get them next year, man. Mm-hmm. That's all I got for you is, man, I hate the way it ended. We got to make some changes and this and this and that. I'm hoping that such and such is in the gym, making sure that if he gets another chance at the free throw line, he's going to be able to take advantage of this. Hey, man, we got to get some more shots up. Aiden, man, bro, work on them finishes in the lane, my guy, because you missed quite a few layups out there. Next season, let this be about revenge. Everybody who thought you were a bust as a 5-star, come back next year and make them eat them words. But like, I'm not throw the player away. Come back and be better next time, man.
Right. And you know, something lost out, and we can button up on this, is that I think it's an overlooked thing that kids don't get to fail.
Right.
They don't get to fail. I've heard the greatest players ever talking about how failing is the key to figuring out how to win. Michael Jordan said, "I'm successful because I failed." Mm-hmm. He's the greatest basketball player that ever lived. And I don't care who disagrees with that. He is the greatest basketball player that ever lived. LeBron James, though, one of the greatest basketball players that ever lived, we saw him in real time fail on the biggest stage, on a team that set the plate for him to be the reason they won, and he failed in the finals with all his buddies playing up to their potential. And that was the thing that unlocked LeBron James. He learned how to be great because he failed in the biggest moment possible in his sport. And a lot of people are going to always point to why that he's not the greatest of all time for that reason. He's not the greatest of all time. And that's okay because he's still one of the greatest basketball players to ever live. But he learned how to win by failing. And we're expecting a 5-star true freshman, Aiden Holloway, to come in here and be the reason this team gets over the top. Why? Can they not learn how to fail? Like, I agree, the coaches shouldn't be trying to figure out things that they should know as coaches year after year. Bruce Pearl is not. He's setting pieces up in place. If every piece plays to its maximum potential or is present on the court, we win the last game that we played. Circumstances made it to where that didn't happen. But kids need room to fail so they can be and then you'll find out really who you are as an individual, whether it's life or sports. You'll find out who you are and what you can do to grow from these situations. But I hate hearing people be down on kids that fail. At 18, you at the top of your game doing whatever you're doing? Really? I don't believe that. Shut up. I don't believe that. Let people fail. Let them be better next time.
Indeed. All right, let's get to this drawing really quickly. I think a lot of people were more concentrated on arguing with one another, which is beautiful in the chat. I love to see the debates in the chat. We had 24 people get in on the drawing. Somebody's got to win them a mug today, courtesy of GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Today's winner is going to be Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter, president. You all right? You still holding on over there?
I'm about to say. Listen, man, my heart goes out to those young men and in the disappointment they have to feel. Because, listen, they were convinced that they were going to go on a long run. They didn't want to go out in the first round. They, listen, Janai Broom out there, we ain't losing no more. Like, he probably feels terrible because he said that, and now people are. This is the other thing I think is weird, bro. And this is, I've said this a couple of times before about people feeling as if, man, don't say that, don't do that. You're going to jinx us, right? Like, I don't stop this jinxing, like, bro. Coach Pearl was being his team was too cocky because they went it. No, man, he was trying to instill confidence in his young men. Hey, listen, we're gonna go win 9 in a row, and let's believe that today. If it works out, he looks like a genius. But when it doesn't work out, it's like, man, see. Look what you did. And it's like, bro, listen, sometimes you gotta my boys over at the Uptempo podcast, they just did a new shirt that they put out there. It says drop your nuts. Right. Sometimes you gotta put your nuts out there on the table, man. And listen, that don't always work out well. And that's for my men out there, shout out to Manscaped. It is a very it's not a comfortable feeling if I've never personally done this actually in real life and put my nuts on a table. That's gonna go way in the wrong direction. So let me just steer away from that a little bit. But but I can tell you the thought of that is not comfortable for me, right? But like the whatever it takes to do that sort of thing and put yourself out there in that way, that takes a lot of guts, man.
It does.
And sometimes it works out in your favor. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you can be Babe Ruth pointing at the wall, talking about you're about to hit a home run, and you step up there and you knock it out of the park, and people are like, oh, that's the most iconic thing in the world. Sometimes you can be Joe Namath, and you can talk about how you're going to come and you're going to win. Sometimes you could be, what's your boy's name for Auburn that right before the game said he was going to run for 200? Yeah. Sometimes you're Kenny Irons.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're Janai Broom. And you put it out there and it doesn't work out. Sometimes you call your shot and you hit it. And sometimes you call your shot and you miss. It is what it is. What was it Hasselbeck who they had the
We want the ball
overtime.
and we're gonna win.
We want the ball and we're gonna score.
Yeah.
And then what through a pick
Boy,
six.
you know, not. That is not how it went. Oh man.
It happens, man. But sometimes you have to be in order to be great. Sometimes you have to be willing to look stupid.
Right.
Sometimes you got to do that, man. Yeah. Hey, man, I'm gonna call my shot. You know, you Steph Curry, or you Nick. What's the left-handed player?
Nick Young. The way he shot that shot, and turned around and it rimmed out.
Yeah. Sometimes you Steph Curry. Sometimes you Nick Young, man. It just is what it is, man. All right, I didn't see.
I haven't seen him yet. President Carter, are you here?
We're not gonna stick around forever, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Are we throwing it back?
Yeah, I'm about to redraw, man. I ain't got all day, bro. I ain't got all day.
Throw it back.
You know, shit, we gonna just get to.
Hopefully,
this.
we still got just a relatively small number of entries. Y'all could have got in there, but
yeah, listen, man. Hey. Oh, then he said he's here. I'll get it off the screen. Get off the screen before somebody see it.
there we go.
Oh, boy, you was about to lose your mug, bro, because I didn't get off screen for somebody to see who would have won.
They'd been mad. There you go.
All right, you know what you need to do, man. You need to go ahead and email. Show is finna give your mug to somebody else, man. Email us business@theworldreport. We'll get you a mug out in there in the mail. All right, man. We about to get out of here, man. We appreciate you guys jumping in with us. As always, if you want to join the War Report, go ahead and do that. Get your little join membership on. If you are a member before you get out of here and you want to give somebody membership, you could do that. If you didn't win something, congrats to our winner. If you didn't win something, you go to the website. That Drop Your Nuts t-shirt, by the way, is on the website. We just did the design for that. Shout out to the Uptempo podcast. That is completely their brainchild. Normally the stuff on the thing is mine. That is not me. They came up with that. Drop Your Nuts is out there on the website. So go support them with that t-shirt right there. And we'll be back at you guys with the morning drop tomorrow. Before you get out of here, make sure that you share the video with somebody. Make sure you hit that thumbs up on the video and like the video. Follow us on social media. We're at The War Report or TW Report on TikTok. Back at y'all tomorrow with the morning drop. Until the next time, and as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.